Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2022 Pagan Federation Online Lammas Festival, which this year is brought to you by the Community Support Team. And by that I mean the central team of the Community Support Team as opposed to any of our individual teams. This obviously is a time of year where we think about the harvest, we think about gifts that the earth gives to us. We think about the growing, the harvesting, and the cycles of life that this represents. Whether you celebrate this as Lammas or any other festival, maybe you come from a tradition that doesn't have a specific festival at this time of year, but you still like to observe the changing of the seasons and recognise the bounteous gifts that the land and the sea provide for us, which is particularly pertinent at this time of year. For this opening video, we decided that we would give you an update, which will be an update for some, possibly an introduction for others on what the Community Support Team, or CST, is, and what it can provide for you and for the community, and how you can get involved. So the purpose of the Community Support Team is to, as it says in the name, provide support to the community. Now, the way we do this is we have a number of teams that make up the Community Support Team who all work to support a certain area of the community, a certain subdivision of the community, many of which, of course, interlap. There's a nice new buzzword called intersectionality, which effectively means that we need to recognise that just because someone falls into the category of being supported by one team doesn't mean that they are automatically not going to be supported by another team. So, for example, someone may be part of the LGBT community, but they might also have children and a family. So that straight away is two different teams that they could look to for support. And that's just one example of the, absolutely almost infinite number of combinations that an individual could fall into. So as the CST, as hopefully you'll be aware, we organise these events, our online festivals throughout the year. We normally have one of our teams will take the lead for that festival. That doesn't mean they're running it entirely on their own. They'll have help from throughout the Pagan Federation, largely from other community support teams. But they take the lead, and that rotates throughout the year. Other things that we do, sort of in general, we have the Pagan Federation quizzes, which we run throughout the year. Most months, not all months. We haven't done one this month, but they normally take place on the last Friday of the month. And we also have the Pagan Federation lectures. Again, mostly monthly. Some months we don't have one. But that'll be a talk on any subject at all that falls within paganism, and that will be done on the last Thursday of the month. All of these things are open to anyone in the community. You don't have to be a paid up member of the Pagan Federation to access any of this. Same with these festivals, and a large amount of the work that we do, I'd say almost all of the work that we do, you have access to, whether you're a paid up member or not. Because we're here to support the community, not just the community that can pay for it. So, and that's very important to us in what we do. So that's sort of generally what we do as sort of the central community support team. Obviously, there's sort of emergent things that come up. There's the management of the individual teams that make up the CST, and the general sort of daily supporting the community that we do. We also work closely with the districts. So, as you're probably aware, the Pagan Federation nationally split up into districts across the county, and many across the country, sorry, and many of our community support teams either have liaisons in the specific district, or they have a central team of subject matter experts that the district can go to, should they need advice or help, anything. So, rather than just have this video being entirely me talking at you, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand you over and let some of the managers of the fantastic teams that make up the community support team tell you a little bit about who they are, who's in their team, what their team does, and how you can get involved. We'll then go back to me at the end. I'll talk about some of the new teams that we've got that are just sort of launching now, which is quite exciting. I suppose this is in a way their sort of official launch, because we haven't sort of said anything about them up to this point, as well as filling you in on a couple of the other teams and what they are up to. So without further ado, I'll hand you over to Jenny, who will be telling you all about what the education and youth team are up to.
Hi, I'm Jenny Azell, and I am the manager for education for the Pagan Federation. Together with my deputy, Dr. Alison Robertson, we run the education team. I'm a former teacher of religious education, and I've had various roles as a senior examiner and with the Religious Education Council for England and Wales. So the education team exists to advocate for RE. Obviously, I believe passionately in the value of good quality RE in schools and colleges, raise awareness of what the benefits of RE are to parents, to students, and in schools, and particularly to advocate for the adoption of the Commission on RE report that was published in 2018, which would, if it was implemented, involve a radical change to the way religion is taught in schools, and that would be very much to the advantage of pagan families. We also exist to provide advice to schools who find themselves with pagan pupils and are not sure how or what to teach or how to deal with their needs in school, and also to provide advice and help to parents who are trying to deal with schools who may be being a little bit intransigent or don't know what to do. So again, we can provide advice and help and support there. We're happy to speak directly to schools to give them information. There is a letter template that I wrote that's on the website for the Pagan Federation for parents to use to request time off school for their children to celebrate pagan festivals. And just generally anything to do with school, college, university, we're there to provide support and help. You can reach me on education@paganfederation.co.uk, and anything that we can do to support or help you, your children, university students, college students, whatever, just let us know. Okay, thanks.
Hello. My name is Sif Brooks. I am the National LGBT+ Manager for the Pagan Federation, and I represent that team. We're quite a small team at the moment, but we are doing a meeting on Tuesday to basically gather around and introduce ourselves properly and discuss next steps. More recently, we hosted the Summer Solstice and Pride event for the Pagan Federation, which was over that entire week, the Summer Solstice week, and that went very well. A lot of engagement and all of that. In September, I will be talking to the Milton Keynes, talking as part of the Milton Keynes Pride Festival. And I'm hoping to make sure that that's a thing that we branch out, network with other Pride festivals around the country, to ensure that pagans and the Pagan Federation are known for being inclusive and for offering a safe space for all LGBT plus individuals. That's essentially what we're doing at the moment, and in trying to brainstorm ideas for how we can do more of that going forwards. And essentially, yes, we've got big plans in the works. We're hoping to perhaps do the Summer Solstice and Pride event next year, because that was fantastic. And now that I know how to do it and what I'm doing, it should be a lot better. Kat, my deputy, is fantastic. We have Kate, we have Robert. They are all doing fantastic work, and, you know, fantastic team that we have. Overall, fantastic. And I will finish it off there. We're doing things are happening. That is all.
Hi, I'm the Reverend Sass Adams, the Interfaith Manager for the Pagan Federation. I am an XRE teacher, a long-standing volunteer with local faith groups, and an interfaith minister, hence the Reverend. I just wanted to speak very quickly today about the work we do here with Interfaith, because it is absolutely integral to achieving the aims of the Pagan Federation. Most specifically in promoting a positive profile for pagans and paganism, as well as facilitating dialogue with those of different faiths. So how do we do this? So we have a small but growing team of district liaisons. So throughout the country, we have people who do their own work within their own communities, which for some looks like just attending local interfaith events. Some people actually put on those events. We have some other members who go into schools and workplaces who talk and promote paganism. On a national level, the Pagan Federation are proud members of the Interfaith Network. So the IFN is a national charity that champions religious freedom, advocacy and cooperation. And our membership allows the pagan voice to be heard alongside the other major faiths as equals. So a lot of our work really is working on the membership, attending different meetings, bringing back the information and making sure that voice is heard. So why do we do this? It's my firm belief that only through friendship with people of other faiths that we can start building bridges and start dispelling the negative stereotypes that often surround us, and building those bridges based on common beliefs and aims, issues such as the environment or promoting compassion through cooperation. So would you like to get involved? Is it an area that you'd like to be involved in but don't know how or where to start? Or perhaps you're already involved in interfaith work? Either way, please do get in touch, even if it's just to connect. Just let us know about the great work that you do, and perhaps we can promote that for you or help promote within our membership. Soon, also, we're going to be working on two major events for our department. The first one is the online event for Samhain. So this isn't necessarily just going to be about interfaith, it's going to be about Samhain. It's just our department's turn to put on the event. And we're also going to be doing an event very, very shortly after for Interfaith Week, which I believe at this point is going to be very similar, so an online event. We're looking for anyone who would like to be involved in some way in either of the two events. Maybe you're an artist, maybe you're a musician or a speaker, or you know of people of other faiths that would like to be involved somehow. Please do get in touch. You can email me at interfaith@paganfederation.co.uk. That is interfaith@paganfederation.co.uk. Thank you.
So some more teams that I can tell you about that we have. So I'll start off with the ones that are up and running, that have been up and running for quite a long time. Before I move on to talk about teams that are either brand new or have undergone a bit of a rebranding. So first of all, I'm going to talk to to you about the hospitals ministry. This is a very important team within the Pagan Federation, and a sort of very important part of what the community support team does. So the hospitals ministry provides pagan chaplaincy for anyone who is currently in hospital, whether that is short term, long term, whether that is for physical health or mental health. And we have a fantastic team who undergo regular training. They regularly, check in with their management team, and they follow all the appropriate protocols to provide that support to people when they are in hospital. Because as many of you, or almost everyone, I imagine, would know, being in hospital can be scary, particularly if you have a condition that either is sadly terminal and going to end your life, or you're worried that it could potentially go down that route. Those really are times when people need support and often are looking to the spiritual side of their life, with concerns about potentially what's going to happen to them should they pass on. But also, even if people are just in for a routine thing that, there's very little risk of any severe consequences or anything like that, being in hospital is still, can still be a traumatic time. It's not something that most people look forward to. So it's important for them as well to have access to pagan chaplaincy and someone that they can talk to that has an understanding of their beliefs and can talk to them on that sort of level. So that's effectively what the hospitals ministry does and what it's there for. So we have a fantastic team of volunteers. Obviously, through COVID, physical visits to hospitals have been quite limited. But even then, where possible, the team have been doing visits via things like Zoom, Microsoft Teams, which isn't as good as a face-to-face, actually having someone come and sit at your bedside in hospital, but it was the best that we could do, given the circumstances. Fortunately, now most hospitals are sort of relaxing their rules a little bit now, and that means that we can have face-to-face visits taking place again. So if you're interested in joining the team and becoming a volunteer hospital visitor, that is something you can do, and the application is on the website. So if you go to the Pagan Federation community website, you can submit your application to volunteer there, and that goes for volunteering for any of our teams as well. You can do that through the website. Equally, if you're going into hospital, you have friends or family in hospital, you're already in hospital, do please feel free to reach out to the hospitals ministry, and so no matter how big or small your concerns are, or anything like that, the team is there for you. So please do reach out; they'll be more than happy to help. Okay, the next team I'm going to talk to you about is one of our most active teams. Very, very busy team, very successful team, and that is the Children and Families team. Again, fairly self-explanatory. The Children and Families team is there to provide resources, provide a forum for conversation, and support to pagan families. Now, they do this through a number of ways. They've got a very active Facebook group. They have a fantastic newsletter called Aether, which is completely free. Goes out digitally. There's no paper copy. It goes out digitally, and that contains articles. It contains stories. So there's things for children of all ages, but there's also things for the parents. It's a very, very good magazine um, that I know a lot of effort goes into, and they produce a lot of high quality content. It's well worth looking into. Sort of going along with that, they've also got Aether Patches. Now, if any of you were in Scouts or Guides or St John Ambulance, Boys Brigade, Girls Brigade, etc., you probably sort of understand the sort of system of badges. And that's exactly what this is. So the Aether Patches are patches, badges, sew on badges that you can sew on to whatever you like, blankets, clothing, however you wish to display them. And they're, again, sort of centered around festivals. And there is then a series of activities and tasks, so to speak, that you can do with your family, with your children, or just yourself if you just want to sort of earn that patch. It's entirely sort of self-regulated. You don't have to prove to the children and families team that you have done the required things. They're all suggested as well. It's not you have to have done this, and this. It's just here's some of the things that you might like to do. You do the things. You order the patch online. They're not expensive, and then that's just another really nice way to get children involved and learning, and then have something physical to show for it as well. So again, that's fantastic. The Children and Families team are also in the process of sort of looking at putting some books together. So they've got a very active blog, which again, like all our teams, they've all got blogs. Some use them more than others. The Families one is used regularly. There's some overlap between the blog and Aether, and in the near future, hopefully some of that's going to be put into print as well, in books. So there's an ongoing project sort of collecting children's poetry to create a children's poetry book. So if your children are budding poets, then please do feel free to send their submissions in to the Aether editor email address, or you can send them to me and I will pass them on. That's fine. So I'm tso@paganfederation.co.uk, or you can submit it via the form on the website. As I say, it's an ongoing project because obviously we need to collect up enough poems to put into a book. And we can't pester children too much to submit them. So it's ongoing. As soon as we have a decent amount of poems, enough to put into a book, that will happen. But there's also other projects. Sort of looking at deities associated with family and stuff like that. And the hope is that at some point in the near future, that will also be put into a publication that will be available to buy. So lots and lots going on with the Children and Families team. I've probably missed some really important things that they're doing, but that just sort of gives you a little bit of a flavour. So I say it's a fantastic team, and yeah, certainly one to look into. And again, as I've said with the others, if you want to volunteer, go to the PF community website, and the information will be on there. If you want to reach out for support and you think that they can offer you, then please do that as well. So that is Children and Families. Now, the next team I'm going to talk to you about is not a new team, but it has just undergone a name change. So it's a bit new. So the Disabilities Team, as was, is one of our longest running teams. It's certainly one that has done a lot of good work. In some ways, sort of the model that all the other community support teams sort of base themselves on. Some fantastic work done by previous managers of the team. I was manager of the team for a year and a bit, but I don't include myself as a fantastic manager of the team. My predecessor, however, Debbie Gregory, did an awful lot of hard work in getting that team to where it was and really sort of setting the standard. So yeah, a very successful team, a very important team, providing support for, as the name suggests, providing support for people with disabilities, providing information on things like reasonable adjustment, support through. One of the sort of major things is just getting moots to say what the accessibility is like at their venue, and that's not just can you get in and out in a wheelchair. There's a lot more to it than that, and that leads me on quite nicely to the name change and why we have the name change. So the team is now known as the Accessibility Team, which is a change that we've made, sort of keeping up with current terminology, but really it does better reflect what the team is and what it does. The team is all about trying to make everything as accessible as possible, whether that is making physical moots more accessible, providing that access information so people know what to expect when they get to a moot, but it's also about making things like our conferences more accessible, making our information more accessible. So having things like these online festivals that that people can dial into without having to physically travel. It's about providing information in as many different formats as we can to make it as accessible as possible. And of course, this is an ongoing process. And, we as an organisation are striving for perfection, but we know that, we're certainly not there yet. And we would, at some point in the future, it would be fantastic if everything that we put out is going out in multiple formats. So, audio, large print, braille, all of these different things. And we're improving, technology is improving, it's helping us a lot. So things like subtitles on videos, live captioning, things like that are really helpful. But there's a long way to go. There's a long way to go for the whole of society. And we hope that through the accessibility team, we can make sure that the Pagan Federation remains at the forefront of that push to make everything as accessible to as many people as possible. So that is the accessibility team. We are currently recruiting for a new manager. So should you think that all sounds fantastic, I want to do that, then please, again, as I keep saying, go to the Pagan Federation community website, which is pfcommunity.org.uk. Click on vacancies. And there you will see all of our current vacancies. But yeah, particularly we are recruiting for the accessibility team. We're looking for a manager for that team. So if that's something that you have experience of, think that that you could really sort of contribute to, then please do go on there and have a look. And if you feel like it, fancy it, still want to do it, then please do apply. We're also looking for a deputy manager, a secretary, social media officer, newsletter officer. So there are lots of vacancies within the accessibility team. Don't let that put you off, though, and think that you'd be walking blindly into a team. There are already team members, and there are also plenty of people. As I say, I was manager of what was then the disabilities team for around 2 years. There'd be lots of support available for anybody coming in to that role, but also the opportunity to really sort of put your stamp on it and make it your own. Whether that's as manager, deputy manager, secretary, Cool. So that is the accessibility team. Now, another team. Now, this one, if you want to join this team, it currently doesn't have any members. We're really looking for someone to kickstart it and get it going. It is another team that has previously existed, but it's been sort of on ice for a little while. It was previously known as the Cultural Cohesion Team. We've changed the name, given it a bit of a rebrand to make it a bit clearer as to what it's actually there to do. And it's now the Cultural Diversity Team. So the idea behind the Cultural Diversity Team is to effectively provide support for people of different cultures. We know, obviously, paganism is a wide umbrella, which, and actually, I should say, the new term. Talking of new words and new terminology, we're now talking about paganisms, as opposed to saying that different paths within paganism or different branches. The new one we're going with is paganisms. So within paganism, there are many cultures, there are many subcultures, and there are people from all over the world who identify to a lesser or greater extent as pagan, or follow a belief system that is fully or partly pagan. They might not necessarily use the term themselves, but they recognise that they sort of come into that community. So the idea behind the Cultural Diversity Team will be to promote that, to promote the diversity, to recognise it, to celebrate it, and also obviously to highlight similarities, look at where different cultures do things in a similar way, celebrate festivals at the same time or similar times, celebrate similar festivals, similar deities, and really just sort of highlight that. And obviously, on the other side of it, support anybody who is having issues, if they're facing any kind of discrimination or anything like that. And I don't like to talk about that too much when we're doing videos like this. We want to focus on the positive side of everything that we're doing. But with this team and with any of the other teams, we are there. We work closely with the advocacy team, for example. And if people are being discriminated against for any reason, then we are there to help and to combat that as well. So yeah, should you wish to get involved with the Cultural Diversity Team, then again, please apply through the website. And again, whilst it is in some ways a new team being restarted up again, there will be plenty of support for the people who volunteer to be in it. Okay, we're getting there. Now you see why it is such a big team, the community support team. There's a lot going on. So that's all the current teams. I now get to talk to you about two brand new teams that we are launching. One of which has a manager and secretary in place. The other one, again, we are recruiting. So please do apply, as I keep banging on. So that one, the one that doesn't currently have anyone in post, is the intrafaith team. Now, intrafaith, for those who don't know, is very similar to interfaith, but where the interfaith team is looking to promote relations and work with other religions. So, just for example, Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, etc., etc. The intrafaith team is all about promoting those relationships between the different paganisms. So something it's not been so much of an issue in recently, but it does still linger. We get people who think that the Pagan Federation has for a better way of putting it, preferences towards certain paganisms over others. And of course, this isn't true at all. We try to be as representative of as many different forms, as many different paganisms as we can. And we're certainly a diverse group of people when it comes to committee and council and things like that. We've got druids, we've got heathens, we've got Wiccans, we've got witches, we've got you name a type of paganism. You name a paganism. I will get used to this. Then they are represented, and if they're not physically represented, as in someone of that paganism holds a committee position or a council position or whatever, they are still supported. We don't put any paganism higher than any other. But there are still those that do. No. There are still those that think that we do. I've heard it said in certain spheres that the Pagan Federation is, for example, only really for Wiccans, and they don't really care about anyone else. And that's not complete nonsense, as I've said. But the intrafaith team is there to promote relations between the paganisms. So rather than, as I said earlier, talking to Sikhs or Muslims or Hindus, this is about getting heathens to talk to druids, or Wiccans to talk to witches, or heathens to talk to heathens. This is about promoting that culture. And again, similar to the interfaith team, it's looking at how the different paganisms can work together, celebrating their similarities, celebrating their differences, and sort of showing what we can do when we all work together instead of all hiding in one, our little clique and saying, well, I'm just this very, very specific thing, and I only want to talk to anyone who's also that very, very specific thing. And we achieve a lot more together, and that's what the intrafaith is all about. So again, if that sounds like something that really floats your boat, then please apply. If you're not sure if it floats your boat, drop me an email, ask some questions, and we'll see. But yeah, that's what the team is there for. And finally, we are getting there. The other new team has just launched. We have a manager, we have a secretary, who are rearing to go, chomping at the bit, ready to leap into action to support the community. This is the Veterans and Dependents team. So this team is there to support anybody who has served in the armed forces, as well as the families of anyone serving in the armed forces. The intention is to work very closely with the Defence Pagan Network. So the Defence Pagan Network is there to support pagans serving in defence, so any of the armed forces or the Ministry of Defence, whilst they are serving. I have recently stepped down as chair of that organisation because I myself am leaving the military. But I was chair of that organisation for I think just shy of 3 years. We achieved some really good stuff in that time, and that work is continuing now. The current chair is also a PF committee member, so the links and the ties are there. But the Defence Pagan Network is very much an internal forces organisation. It's for people currently serving. It's an employee support network. It's not within their remit to support people once they've left the armed forces, or indeed to support the families of people who are serving. And that's where our Veterans and Dependents team is going to come in. So the idea is that it should be a seamless transition from being supported by the Defence Pagan Network. Someone then leaves the military, and then they are immediately supported by the Veterans and Dependents team. Likewise, for people who are serving, the Veterans and Dependents team is there to support their families. Obviously, when people are away on deployments, whether that's in a conflict or just peacekeeping operations or just day-to-day operations, but that take them away from home. Their family and their loved ones need support. And it's a sort of a community that has its own unique requirements, and that's why we felt. And this team has been on the cards for a few years. We've just finally actually got it set up now, so to provide that unique support that those families need, and also for veterans, because leaving the military isn't easy. A lot of people join the military straight from school from a very young age. They might not know how to be a civilian. If anybody knows how to, answer on a postcard, I'd love to know. I'm personally just going to go and be a student again. That's the only other thing I know how to do. But kind of a case in point as to why the team needs to exist, to support people in that transition from the military back to civilian life, and then to continue to support them, provide a forum for like-minded people, where they can discuss, how their time in the armed forces has impacted upon them, how they feel now, help with things like, coping strategies for PTSD, which is, a massive thing for people leaving the military. But also, maybe someone's come out of the military, they've not got any major issues, they've gone straight into a civvy job, they're settled and they're happy, but the support is still there. It's still nice to be able to talk to a group of people who not only share similar beliefs to you, but have had similar experiences to you as well. So I'm really excited that this team now exists, and I'm sure it's going to do some fantastic work. The manager and the secretary are both good friends of mine. You'll soon learn that if you're a pagan and you're a friend of mine, then you'll end up in, in a role doing a job. Please don't avoid me because of that, but it happens. But no, they're the right people for the job. We've got a former soldier and a former sailor, who are the manager and secretary of that team, respectively. We hope to obviously have someone from the RAF, or former serving RAF, on the team, and then we'll also be looking for a dependents rep as well, so someone there who represents the families side of it. And of course, this team again will have massive crossover intersectionality with some of our other teams. So, children and families team would be an obvious one for dependents, supporting families, they can work together. Accessibility, as I was saying, people leaving the forces either with physical injuries or mental health conditions, would be working closely with accessibility. As I said earlier, all these teams can cross over in different ways, and that's very much how we look at it as the bigger picture. Which brings me nicely on to not a new team, but a new role that we're creating, which is our link liaison. So we'll now have a sort of a group of people. I won't call it another team because it's not, but they'll work directly with me and my team to promote that intersectionality, to make sure that we're linking up, to make sure that every member of our community is getting the access to all the support that they are entitled to, that they need, and that we have to offer, and to make sure that people don't feel like they're just sort of pigeonholed within one team, that they get the bigger picture and the spread. So that's a brand new system that we're starting. Hopefully it'll work well, and it'll get all the teams talking to each other even more than they already do. Obviously, we all work very closely together as it is, but we will continue to build on that, strive for perfection, and drive forward to provide the best support we possibly can. So I've waffled on a lot. I hope that you enjoy the festival that we've put together for you today. As I say, I know not every pagan tradition sort of has a Lammas festival. Personally, I'm a heathen. We don't necessarily have a set festival for this time of year, but lots of heathens do like to mark the harvest, as I'm sure our heathen ancestors would have done. Big thanks to all of my team, as always, for being fantastic and doing what you do. And of course, to my sort of personal team. So my deputy, CSO's deputy and secretary, Sam and Ange, who are not only providing a lot of content for today's festival, they'll be there, promoting the discussion, sharing things, taking part in the ritual. Because we've got a ritual planned that'll be on Zoom at 12 o'clock today. So it'd be great to see as many of you there as possible. But also, since I've had Sam and Ange to assist me, it's lessened my workload, and it's hopefully means that we again are providing even better support. Everything's linking up nicely. Everything's running on time. The CSTs are growing both in terms of the number of teams, the personnel, but also the output. And as I say, that support that we're providing for the community. So that's everything I have for you for now. Please keep an eye on the event page where there'll be the discussion topics going up. We've got some music later. As I say, we've got our ritual. And to finish the video, please, if you want to get involved, go to the website. It is pfcommunity.org.uk. Lots of resources on there. This isn't just for people wanting to volunteer and give some of your time. There's also lots of information about the team, what we can do to support you. There's blogs on there. There's links to social media. There's all sorts of great stuff. But there's also the vacancies page. Please check out the vacancies page. If anything on there takes your interest and you think that you'd like to get involved, and you think that you can really bring something to the party, the community support team is a fantastic team. We've got some brilliant people who are great to work with. There's also me, but do please get involved. And I really hope that you enjoy the rest of today's festival.